Hello, my name is Bobby Nguyen. I also go by Long, but I prefer Bobby. This is homework number two. I chose to do problem 10, 350. Okay, let's take a look at 350. So this is the unmodified version, and this is the givens you can find from looking at the problem. So I wrote out the coordinates for B in the x direction and the y direction, and there there's negatives and positives because it's a lot easier writing them down in the givens, so you can put them into an equation without like giving thought to it and making mistakes if you accidentally you know forget a negative. Writing it down here, you can really check back from your mistakes. So for the unmodified version, uh, the force in the z direction is at 500 pounds. Ooh, almost forgot to put pounds there. And the height is at 6. For my modified version, I changed the force F to 200 pounds, and I changed the height of the all the ropes in the z direction at for 9 feet. So the first thing we want to do is to find the magnitude, and we do that by looking at the so let's say for example for B right here, right? We know it's three three away from the origin in the x direction, three positive away because it's coming towards x, and it's -2 in the y direction because it's opposite side of y right here in the opposite direction. And the reason why it's -9 is if we remember is because this the force of the rope will act in opposition of the force of force F right here, and because it's in the opposition and force F is pointing up, it must mean it points down. So that means it's negative. So once you have your numbers, you put them in the vector equation, I, J, and K. Then once you have the vector equation, you simply find the magnitude by squaring I, and squaring J, and squaring K. Then square rooting them, and there's your answer. And I didn't write the steps for the rest because it's relatively simple. Now, once we find that, we find the unit vector, and the unit vector is really easy because it's what we've done before. We just need to set the vector equation over our magnitude, and once we've done that, we find the force vectors, and the force vector is basically finding how large the force vector is, how much force is in each vector, and you do that by multiplying them out, multiplying FAB, which is the force, by the unit vector, and once you do that, you get these numbers right here with the variables, and we're trying to find the variables, right? So the next thing we do is we know the direction of each thing. So we know I is in the x direction, J is in the y direction, and K is in the z direction. And because we know that, we can use some physics and stuff we learned from statics, obviously, to find to make some assumptions. And one of them is that we know the forces in the x direction and in the y and the z, the sum of them should equal 0 because nothing is moving in this problem. If someone were to move or have some amount of acceleration, then it wouldn't be 0. But because nothing's moving, everything is 0. So once we know that, we can set all the x's equal to 0 right here. all the y's equal to 0 and all the z's. Now, in the x direction, you can see here, each force vector will have a component in the x direction, same in the y, same in the z. Now, if we look here, z is a little different because if you remember earlier, there's a force acting in the z direction right here, extra force, the 200 pounds. So you have to add that onto the equation. And with that, we know it all equals to 0. And if you take a look, this might resemble something. Each row, each column, I mean, has a different variable, right? And if you remember back in 251 or something, 261, we can use a matrix to solve this. See, this is the x, the y, and the z. You just plug in here, and once you write each out in the matrix equation, you can then solve for it. And remember the 200, you just move it onto the other side, so it's really this can also equal a negative 200 right here because I just moved it to their side. So once you have in the matrix equation, if you have a calculator, you can solve. You can just plug in and solve for it, and that's exactly what I did. And these are my answers. Okay, thank you everyone for watching my video. Thank you.